Dr. Ning Li. Mysterious disappearances often involve individuals whose work defies convention. The perplexing case of Dr. Ning Li, whose groundbreaking research on anti-gravity beguiled and confounded her peers, is one such story. Dr. Ning Li emigrated from China to the United States in 1983, joining the Center for Space Plasma and Aerodynamic Research at the University of Alabama. In the early 90s, her pioneering papers on anti-gravity were met with skepticism, dismissed by many as fanciful science fiction. Still, Li's theoretical work proposed a specific practical method for generating an anti-gravity field, a concept that promised transformative applications. In 1999, Li left academia to found her own company, AC Gravity. To further her research, she secured a significant grant from the Department of Defense, nearly $500,000. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of a series of strange and troubling events in her life. Despite the promising start, AC Gravity never published any of its research. By 2003, Li had vanished from the public eye. Her last known communication was a private email to colleagues, specifically reporting an experiment that generated, quote, 11 kilowatts of output energy. After this message, she did.
What did she uncover? She uncovered something, or, excuse me, she did something that would affect or change the course or directory of where they want us to go. Those are only two things that could happen with her. Like, this stuff is like, it's so obvious, bro. But it just blows my mind how they still are able to maneuver and do things to people and continue on.
Disappeared entirely. Her colleagues continued to send emails, which were marked as read, but no replies ever came. Rumors and speculation filled the void left by her disappearance. Some suggested she was working under strict confidentiality for NASA or the Department of Defense. Jack Sarfati, a fellow scientist, speculated that she had returned to China, now funded by the Chinese government, and was beyond the Pentagon's reach, a potential national security threat. In an interview years later, Li's son recounted a cryptic exchange with his mother, quote, "Mom, do you need to tell me something?" he asked. Her response was as enigmatic as her disappearance, quote, "First off, you don't know anything. Second off, if you even think you might know something, you forget about it."
Now it makes me think of like spy. Like, was she a spy? And she gathered some very, very like top secret information that she wasn't supposed to get a hold to and then bolted out of here and left and took it back?
Li's son recounted how her work under the Defense Department had never actually ceased, instead becoming classified and shrouded in secrecy, a burden that weighed heavily on her. Tragedy struck in 2014 when Li was hit by a vehicle, an accident witnessed by her husband of 46 years, who suffered a fatal heart attack on the spot. Li sustained severe brain damage as a result of the accident. An obituary published in 2021 announced her death at the age of 79 in Huntsville. Ultimately, Dr. Ning Li's story is one of loyalty and sacrifice. It was discovered that she steadfastly refused the overtures of the Chinese Communist Party, remaining dedicated to her work in America. This dedication cost her dearly. She was even barred from returning to China for her mother's funeral. However, her loyalty to her adopted country and dedication to her mysterious research remained unbroken until the end. Madman Mike Markham. In early 1995, the young inventor known as Madman Mike sought to challenge the very fabric of time with a machine he believed could predict future lottery numbers. Ridiculed at first, Mike's critics were stunned when he seemingly vanished while testing his invention. At just 21, Mike Markham was an electrical engineering student when he began experimenting with a Jacob's Ladder spark generator. This simple device, capable of producing an electrical spark that jumps between antennae, sparked an idea that would consume him. During one of his experiments, Mike observed something extraordinary. He claimed to have seen a circular vortex, into which he threw a metal screw. According to Mike, the screw vanished and then reappeared a few feet away. He theorized that the screw had traveled through time, only re-emerging when time caught up to it. To harness this phenomenon for time travel, Mike realized he needed a much larger and more powerful Jacob's Ladder. Lacking the funds to purchase the necessary equipment, he resorted to breaking into a power station and stealing 6 transformers. When he fired up his large-scale Jacob's Ladder, The ensuing blackout lasted several hours and attracted the attention of the police. Arrested for theft, Markham spent time in prison. Yet his notoriety only grew. Emerging from prison, Markham embraced the nickname Madman Mike and took to the airwaves, appealing for donations to complete his project. Despite his mad reputation, he raised enough money to proceed legally. By 1996, Mike claimed his early tests had shown promise. Quote, "I tossed in about 200 objects and animals in total, conducting over 200 tests," he later explained. In 1997, just as he allegedly perfected his invention, Mike vanished. Speculation ran wild, with some suggesting he had time traveled to the 1930s and died on a California beach.
That's what I was about to say. That's what I was thinking. Maybe after trying different animals and different things like that and objects in there, he garnered the courage enough to test it out on himself. I mean, isn't that the ultimate goal? If you believe in your work, you probably gonna test it out yourself. So, and who's to say it wasn't a success? That's the question I needed. Like, was it a success?
Years later, the mystery deepened. Mike resurfaced, or so it seemed, posting on various blogs about his disappearance. In a 2022 Reddit post, he addressed the rumors, quote, "Rumors are ablazing that I am dead, not well, and had time traveled to 1930-something, where I died on a beach in a tube. Whoever posted those pictures of a redhead, that is also not me." He explained that his time machine plans were, quote, "stalled at the moment, until I can get some inverters." Skeptics remain, doubting the authenticity of these posts. Despite multiple requests, the poster has yet to provide proof of his identity. Whether Madman Mike truly defied time, or simply became another puzzle of the digital age, remains a mystery.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. As much as I'm intrigued about time travel, it scares me. Definitely terrifies me. But who's to say he wasn't a success? And why you don't hear about this story? That always makes me wonder, like, why are these stories always seem like they're submerged somewhere, buried deep under some files, or, you know, why? Why does it feel like that? Maybe more people could be like, take what the information they gathered from what he did and expand on it. Especially how we feel about time travel. Like, that's what makes me think it's a possibility that he did it, bro.
Tesla's missing files. In some cases, the mystery does not lie in the disappearance of the inventor, but in the unusual, immoral, and illegal vanishing of their work. Such is the case surrounding the final years and legacy of Nikola Tesla, a man credited with revolutionizing the world through his pioneering work on alternating currents. As Tesla aged, his fortunes waned, and his mental health deteriorated. Once a visionary genius, he became erratic and eccentric. Tesla meticulously counted his steps, developed an obsession with cleanliness and certain numbers, and displayed a variety of peculiar quirks. His later years were marked by solitude, with his only companions being the pigeons he fed daily on the streets of New York. On January 7, 1943, at the age of 86, Tesla was found dead in his room at the New Yorker hotel. The discovery was grim. He'd been deceased for 2 days, a do not disturb sign still hanging on his door. Shortly after Tesla's death, his nephew, Slavko Sinovich, arrived at the hotel to collect his uncle's belongings. He later reported that some of Tesla's most important papers, including a black notebook filled with sensitive information, were missing. This claim was met with skepticism and concern, particularly from U.S. government officials. The FBI's declassified files, released in 2016, reveal a complex narrative. Kosinovich, the Yugoslavian ambassador to the U.S., was suspected of intending to transfer Tesla's research to Yugoslavia. The Office of Alien Property Custodian, or APC, intervened, fearing the potential leakage of sensitive information. Despite legal ambiguities regarding their authority over Tesla's estate, given his status as a naturalized U.S. citizen, the APC confiscated his possessions and files. Among these were details and plans for the elusive Death Ray, or Teleforce, a theoretical particle beam weapon that Tesla claimed could bring down aircraft hundreds of miles away. An MIT professor, Dr. John G. Trump, uncle of future President Donald Trump, was tasked with examining Tesla's papers. Dr. Trump concluded that Tesla's later works were primarily of a, quote, speculative, philosophical, and promotional character, and lacked practical applicability. Despite Dr. Trump's dismissal, the U.S. military showed renewed interest in Tesla's beam weaponry after World War II. Requests for Tesla's papers from various military agencies suggest an ongoing interest in his ideas. By 1952, after a lengthy legal battle, Kosinovich received his uncle's possessions. However, of the 80 trunks Tesla had claimed to own, only 60 were returned to the family, fueling speculation that the U.S. government retained some of Tesla's most sensitive work. The mystery of whether the government returned all of Tesla's papers persists today. Some classified copies of Tesla's research remain, but most...
Hey, y'all be thinking I'm crazy when I be like, yo, the government is like the mob, bro. They like the mob, fam. Whether it's taking your possessions or something that's owed to you or your money or in form of taxes, it's just the mob the way they move, man. And it just, it's frustrating, fam. Like, who gives you the right?
Originals are now housed in the Nikola Tesla Museum in Belgrade, Serbia. Louis Le Prince. Louis Le Prince, often heralded as the father of cinematography, crafted an early motion picture camera that would set the stage for the film industry. Yet his incredible achievements are shadowed by the murky circumstances of his mysterious disappearance and presumed death. In October 1888, in the industrial heart of Leeds, England, Le Prince captured what is widely regarded as the oldest surviving film in existence, the Roundhay Garden scene. This historic 2-minute 11-second movie was a precursor to a burgeoning career poised to revolutionize visual storytelling. However, fate had other plans. 2 years later, Le Prince embarked on a journey to France, intending to visit his brother, and subsequently travel to Paris to reunite with friends and family. He missed his scheduled train from Dijon and boarded a later one. From that moment, Louis Le Prince vanished without a trace. Despite an exhaustive 7-year search by Scotland Yard, no concrete evidence surfaced. Over the years, numerous theories have attempted to explain his disappearance. In 1890, a drowned man was pulled from the Seine, but the body's stature disqualified it from being Le Prince. Speculation ran wild. One film historian suggested fratricide, alleging that Le Prince's brother, the last person to see him, might have killed him for financial gain. Another theory proposed that Le Prince, allegedly gay, chose to disappear voluntarily to spare his family the societal shame of the era. However, none of these theories were substantiated. Perhaps the most plausible and controversial theory is that Le Prince was assassinated on the orders of Thomas Edison over a patent dispute. At the time of his disappearance, Le Prince was on the verge of patenting a projector in 1889, with plans to showcase his inventions in the United States. Edison, a rival in the race to dominate the nascent film industry, later claimed the invention of the moving picture camera as his own. Adding to the intrigue of this theory, Louis Le Prince's son, Adolphe, testified in court against Edison. 2 years later, Adolphe was found dead on Fire Island near New York from a gunshot wound. Although he was ruled to have died in his own hand, the circumstances of his death have fueled ongoing suspicion. The life and disappearance of Louis Le Prince remain a compelling mystery, intertwined with the early competitive days of cinema. His pioneering spirit and the unresolved questions of his fate continue to haunt the story of motion picture history. Ettore Majorana. Ettore Majorana's contributions to theoretical physics were so profound that numerous equations, prizes, and particles now bear his name. A reclusive genius, Majorana's mysterious disappearance in 1938 has sparked speculation for decades. By all accounts, Majorana preferred the shadows. His work flourished in the early 20th century, leading to significant breakthroughs often ahead of their time. Despite his introverted nature, Majorana was drawn into Enrico Fermi's circle of elite experimental scientists in the 1920s at the insistence of his friend Emilio Segre. In 1937, Majorana predicted the existence of a novel type of particle that could be its own antimatter, exhibiting self-destructive tendencies. This prediction was revolutionary, foreseeing particles that physicists now call Majorana fermions. Segre later received a Nobel Prize for related discoveries, highlighting the groundbreaking nature of Majorana's insights. Yet, just months after this breakthrough, at the age of 31, Majorana emptied his bank account, took a boat from Naples to Palermo, and vanished. He purchased a return ticket to Naples, but it remains uncertain if he ever used it. Majorana's disappearance has been fertile ground for theories ranging from monastic seclusion to kidnapping by foreign governments. In his final communication, Maidana wrote a note to a colleague at the Naples Physics Institute, quote, "There isn't a bit of selfishness in it, but I realize what trouble my sudden disappearance will cause you and the students. For this as well, I beg your forgiveness." Investigations over the years have offered tantalizing clues, but no definitive answers. In 2011, Roman authorities analyzed a 1955 photograph purportedly showing Maidana in Argentina. Further evidence in 2015 suggested he had lived in Venezuela between 1955 and 59, leading to the closure of the case with the assumption that Maidana voluntarily emigrated. Maidana's legacy persists not only in the mystery of his life, but also in the ongoing quest to confirm his theoretical particles. Modern physicists are engrossed in what some describe as the hunt for Maidanas. Researchers from Google, Microsoft, and the University of California, Santa Barbara are attempting to approximate Maidana particles. They aim to corral these particles on supercooled chips, hoping to fortify quantum computers by exploiting the particles' unique properties.
The beaming smile that hides a dark or tragic secret. It's hard to discern a person's true character from a photograph. Sometimes the eyes give it away, or the vacant look, but other times there is no hint of what lurks behind the image, or what disturbing backstory is attached to the subject. In this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 normal-looking photographs that actually have terrifying backstories. As always, hit those lights, sit back, and enjoy. If you have a weekend of ghost hunting planned, then you need a decent bag and a camera to capture any paranormal activity. Well, today's sponsor, Bespoke Post, can give Post is a monthly tailored of which are gear, box of order to skip. Bespoke Post also offers a new member offer to canvas weeks, 110 for your camera to each membership per, or go to Bespoke Post. Deadly pose. These 2 young women are posing happily in what looks like the remnants of a piece of crane machinery. The photograph surfaced in 2024, but the exact date it was taken is unknown. However, what the tourists may not realize is that they are sitting inside one of the most radioactive objects in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, on the site of the infamous 1986 nuclear disaster in Pripyat, Ukraine. Despite the years that have passed, the object known as the Death Claw still has high radiation levels, and as recently as 2019, archaeologist Rob Maxwell used a Geiger counter to measure its radiation levels and found it to be over 100 times higher than the highest standard levels of background radiation. Getting too close to the claw is unsafe, and climbing inside and touching it is a bad idea and incredibly risky. Spending just a few hours in the vicinity of radioactive material can elevate your risk of developing cancer, so if you were to spend the entire day with it, you would likely start showing signs of radiation sickness, and prompt medical attention would be required. If you recover in the short term, your likelihood of developing cancer in the long run would certainly be increased. Another danger to consider from climbing inside the claw is the risk that aside from the radiation emitted by the object, there is radioactive dust that could easily cling to clothes, and if carried around for long periods, can have a detrimental impact on health. We sincerely hope these 2 girls are none the worse for climbing in the claw, but only time will tell.
And they smiling like they didn't have a clue as to what they were doing. Like, look at them, bro. Not a clue. Nobody told them. But at the same time, look at this right here. Look at the radiation sign, the symbol. Like, and did they not know where they were or what? I got a lot of questions, bro. How does that even happen to somebody?
The Beast of Balsan. This innocent-looking photograph is of Irma Grease, the blonde, blue-eyed epitome of a Nazi Aryan. But do not be fooled by this smiling 17-year-old. Grease was a Nazi concentration camp guard at Ravensbrück and Auschwitz, and served as warden of the women's section of Bergen-Belsen. At the age of just 20, she became the second highest ranking SS female overseer at Auschwitz. However, her looks hid a cruel, sadistic woman who was feared by every prisoner unfortunate to find themselves under her guard, and she is remembered by many survivors as a cruel woman who was known for wearing heavy boots and carrying a whip and pistol that she used to dish out punishments. She committed innumerable acts of sadism and roamed the women's camps at Ravensbrück, Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen, looking for female victims to abuse. This is how Dr. Gisela Perl, a female inmate doctor in Auschwitz, described Greece. She was one of the most beautiful women I have ever seen. Her body was perfect in every line, her face clear and angelic, and her blue eyes the gayest, the most innocent eyes one can imagine. And yet Irma Grease was the most depraved, cruel, imaginative pervert I ever came across. Grease was also reputed to be a sexual deviant, taking lovers from the male and female populace of Birkenau. She was also alleged to have had affairs with the infamous Dr. Joseph Mengele, as well as Joseph Kramer, the commandant of Birkenau and later Bergen-Belsen. She is said to have stood with Mengele at selections and actively participated in deciding who lived and died. Her cruelty towards inmates became even worse in Belsen, where she was known to make prisoners kneel for long periods of time. Prisoners also had to hold heavy rocks over their heads during long roll calls. They were often forced to stand for hours in snow, ice and rain, and if they did not stand up straight, she would beat them with a rubber truncheon until they were unconscious. She also greatly increased the death counts by ordering selection parades, as she had in Birkenau. Even though Grease only worked at the camp for 3.5 weeks, she was allegedly so cruel that the prisoners dubbed her the Beast of Belsen. Thankfully, her notorious reign came to an end in January 1945 as the Red Army advanced into Poland. Her career of crime caught up with her, and she was arrested, tried and executed by the British. Jung Yoo-jung. Looking at this photograph, you would think nothing of it. Just a lady off on travels or returning from them. However, you're wrong. The lady in the photo is 23-year-old Jung Woo-jung, who had developed an obsession with crime shows and novels, and became fixated with the idea of trying out a murder. In May 2023, posing as the mother of a high school student who needed English lessons, she contacted a 26-year-old English language teacher who lived in the southeastern city of Busan in South Korea. Jung showed up at the tutor's house dressed in a school uniform, and after the teacher let her in, Jung attacked her, stabbing her more than 100 times, and continued the frenzied attack even after the victim was dead. Jung then dismembered the woman's body, put it in a suitcase, and took a taxi ride to dump the remains in a remote parkland near a river north of Busan.
Jesus! Oh my, see, man, and we always assume like, oh, that person, that's an innocent person. Look at him, just so nice and innocent. You don't know. Like, I'm skeptical of everyone, neighbors included. The innocent, the more skeptical. Let me say it again. The innocent, the more skeptical, bro. Y'all have to be that. We have to be that way, man. Anybody can manipulate us. Posing as a student or a woman that needs tutors, assistants, or whatever it was.
She was arrested after the taxi driver tipped off police about a customer who had dumped a blood-soaked suitcase in the woods. Police later said Jung's online browsing history showed she had researched for months on how to kill and how to get rid of a body. However, she had not factored in CCTV cameras and made no effort to avoid them. They captured her entering and leaving the tutor's home several times and brazenly walking down the street with a suitcase full of body parts. Jung confessed to the crime and was later sentenced to life in prison. Timothy John Evans. This black and white family photograph was taken in the 1940s. It features Mary Westlake holding baby Geraldine and her half-brother Timothy Evans and his wife Beryl. At the time, Timothy, his wife and baby were renting rooms at 10 Rillington Place, Notting Hill, London. John Christie was also living in the house with his wife Ethel. The photograph looks unassuming, but not long after it was taken, Evans informed police that his wife was dead. A police search of the building failed to find her body, but a later search revealed the bodies of Beryl, Geraldine, and a 16-week-old male fetus in an outdoor wash house. Beryl's body had been wrapped twice in a blanket and then a tablecloth. The post-mortem revealed that both mother and daughter had been strangled and that Beryl had been physically assaulted before her death. Evans at first claimed that John Christie had killed his wife in a botched abortion operation, but police questioning eventually produced a confession. After being charged, Evans withdrew his confession and once again accused Christie, this time of both murders. Evans was put on trial for the murder of his daughter, the prosecution having decided not to pursue a second charge of murdering his wife. Christie was a principal witness for the Crown and gave detailed evidence about the quarrels between Evans and his wife. The jury found Evans guilty, and despite an appeal, he was hanged at HM Prison Pentonville on March 9, 1950. After Christie moved out of Rillington Place in 1953, the bodies of 3 people were found in a wallpaper-covered kitchen alcove. The remains of 2 others were discovered in the garden, and Christie's wife's body was found beneath the floorboards in the front room. Christie was arrested, but only tried for his wife's murder, despite confessing to killing the 5 other people found at Rillington Place, plus Beryl Evans, although he did deny killing baby Geraldine. Christie was hanged for his crimes. It is now generally accepted that Christie murdered both Beryl and Geraldine. In 2004, the High Court acknowledged that Timothy Evans did not murder either his wife or his child.
Oh my gosh. Like, that... how did they get it wrong? This is crazy, man. How do you get that wrong like that? You gotta be for sure. Y'all took this man out and he didn't even do it. Imagine what he probably said during the trials and everything like that, pleading his case. That's why today when I hear about, I think the most recent one I heard about was this guy just now being released after being accused of a crime that he did not commit. He served like 50 years. They gave him $7 million. I was like, that still ain't enough. You took 50 years of my life. In this situation, they took his life. Like, no.
And an innocent man was hanged. He was granted a posthumous pardon in 2004. The Evans case and the public outcry over the tragic miscarriage of justice contributed to the abolition of capital punishment in the United Kingdom. The family had no idea what was to come when this photograph was taken, or the fact that the crime they were involved in helped change UK law. Franklin Delano Floyd and Susanna Mary Savakis. This photograph appears to be a father and his daughter. However, there is a much darker backstory to this image. The man in the photograph is Franklin Delano Floyd. The girl is his stepdaughter, Susanna, the daughter of a woman to whom Floyd was briefly married. At the time of Franklin's marriage to Suzanne's mother, Sandra Frances Brandenburg, he was already a convicted thief and sex offender. In addition to Susanna, Sandra had 3 other children with 2 different fathers. Shortly after their marriage, Sandra was sentenced to 30 days in jail for passing bad checks in 1975. While she served her time, she left her children in the custody of Floyd. When she was released, Franklin had taken her children and disappeared. Sandra was able to find 2 of her children, but her eldest child, Susanna, and her youngest child, Philip, were never found. The boys' whereabouts remained unknown until 2019, when a man came forward believing he was Philip. DNA tests confirmed that he was. Susanna continued to live with Floyd in Georgia, using the alias Sharon and Warren Marshall, passing as father and daughter. In 1988, Susanna gave birth to a baby boy, whom she gave up for adoption. She and Floyd then relocated to Tampa, Florida, where she started working as an exotic dancer. Susanna became pregnant again, giving birth to Anthony Mitchell Hughes in 1988. Susanna and Floyd got married in 1989 in New Orleans, using the aliases Clarence Marcus Hughes and Tonya Dawn Tadlock. Susanna's name was changed to Tonya Dawn Hughes on the marriage certificate. It later came to light that Susanna had given birth to a daughter, Megan, while living in New Orleans, but she was placed for adoption. By April 1990, Savakis had decided to leave Floyd and start a new life with Kevin Brown, a college student with whom she was having a secret relationship, and take Michael with her. The same month, passers-by found Susanna lying on the side of a highway 100 miles outside of Oklahoma City. It was believed she had been a victim of a hit and run. She later died of her injuries. When Floyd arrived at the hospital the following day, he claimed he had fallen asleep at the Motel 6 after Savakis had gone out to collect groceries. At the time of Susanna's death, she and Floyd were suspects in the 1989 disappearance of 18-year-old Cheryl Ann Comesso, a fellow exotic dancer at the same strip club. Comesso had disappeared following an angry confrontation with Floyd. Following Susanna's death, Floyd put her son Michael into foster care and left the state. It was later established that Michael was not Floyd's biological father. In 1994, Floyd kidnapped Michael from his school in Oklahoma after holding the principal at gunpoint, and Michael was never seen again. 2 months later, Floyd was arrested in Louisville, Kentucky, and he later confessed to killing Michael on the same day of the kidnapping, shooting him twice in the back of the head. Cheryl Comosso's disappearance remained unsolved until her skeletal remains were found in 1995 in an area off Interstate 275 in Pinellas County, Florida. The same year, a mechanic in Kansas found a large envelope in a truck that used to belong to Floyd. The photographs proved Cheryl had been murdered by Floyd, and he was arrested and convicted of her murder. In September 2014, Floyd admitted to the murder of Michael, and that he had disposed of his body on Interstate 35. A search of the area yielded no results, and police believe wild hogs may have eaten Michael's body. He was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. Floyd died from natural causes while on death row on January 23, 2023, at the age of 79. In 2004, the book A Beautiful Child by investigative journalist Matt Burback was published, bringing the story of Franklin Floyd and the at-the-time unidentified Sharon Marshall to the public's attention, and her true identity was established, along with the sad story of her short life. In 2022, a Netflix documentary called Girl in the Picture also covered the tragic life of Susanna Savakis. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.